And this is a time of special thanksgiving as we celebrate the 37th anniversary of Her Majesty the Queen's coronation on June the 2nd, 1953. So to begin our visit to the chapel, the choir sings a very simple short anthem composed by Ralph Vaughan Williams and first sung as the new Queen received communion at her coronation. Every way is to pray for the Sovereign and the Garter Knights. I think that the one thing which I enjoy about it, and I know this also applies to many of my members, and that is that as one steps into that chapel, I think one would have to be completely soulless not to feel the sort of tremendous atmosphere and aura of history which abounds in the place. We look it up at the ceiling, there's the banners and the helms of the Garter Knights going back centuries. Military Knights of Windsor, hats off, and shake hands. And you also play conkers. Yes, we do. Oh, well, that's probably in days gone by. I think that the poor knights probably gave vent to their energies by a bit of jousting, which used to go on somewhere just up the top of the castle here. But apparently, about 3 or 4 years ago, one of our members decided that a more peaceful sort of approach, as an outlet to his energies, was really to invite the boys, the choristers really, in the school down below, St. George's School, to take part in a conker march. And a very much a needle event it is too, I can assure you. Mr. Hill, as headmaster of St. George's School, which team do you declare the winner?
Sadly, sir, I have to declare that the Military Knights have won the trophy by 6-4. Oh!
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Right. Johnny Davis is in his final year at St. George's School. Like many of the 100 boys currently at the school, he's very musical. The school has developed from the original provision by Edward III for his college to have 6 singing boys to aid worship, and a vicar more learned than the rest to teach grammar and singing. As you know, today is Whit Sunday, or Pentecost, the day each year when Christians remember the coming of the Holy Spirit to the followers of Jesus. And I'm delighted to be joined by the whole choir here in the chapel to sing the Whitsun hymn, Come Down, O Love Divine. But first I'm going to have a brief chat with the senior lay clerk, Mr. John Highway.
I've been here the longest.
I see. Now, could be a rather risky business in the old days.
Yes,
one of them nearly lost his life, didn't he?
Well, that's right, yes. There was a lay clerk here in the early 16th century called John Marbeck, who got involved in that very turbulent and troubled period in the history of the English Church, which we now call the Reformation. Now, in 1539, an Act of Parliament was brought in an attempt to suppress the trend, the winds of change, and Marbeck was arrested on the grounds that he had in his possession several documents which had originated on the continent and which contained or expressed views which were both prohibited and indeed heretical. and he was brought to trial here in Windsor by jury, and was found guilty and sentenced to die by burning. Happily, that wasn't the end of the story.
Thank heaven for that.
Well, quite. One of his interrogators was the Bishop of Winchester, who happened also to be prelate of the Order of the Garter, and so clearly had the ear of the king. Now, the bishop had been very impressed by Marbeck's sincerity, and so he interceded with the king on Marbeck's behalf, and the king, Henry, granted Marbeck a pardon, so that Marbeck was able to return to Windsor and take up his music and his religious and biblical studies.
shortcomings weeps with loathing. And so the yearning strong, with which the soaring on shall not pass the
Visitors are welcome to almost all the services in St George's Chapel, but in practice it's the times between services when the visitors flood in. Music creates its own atmosphere, even for those who have no experience of faith, and there's been an organ in the chapel since the 15th century. Harry Briggs, who's joint head chorister with Johnny Davis, is already beginning to master today's 4 manual instruments by Harrison and Harrison. Here in the nave is the latest chapter in the role of the society. The motet, Lord Grant the Queen a Long Life, by the 16th century composer Thomas Weelkes. This sung prayer reminds us of the original function of the community of the College of St. George, which was and is to celebrate divine service daily on behalf of the Sovereign, the Royal House and the Order of the Garter. The President said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, "Give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown." And he replied, "Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than a light and safer than a known way."